Ian Garry remained undefeated in the UFC after picking up a unanimous decision victory over Michael Venom Page at UFC 303. But in Gary's post-fight press conference, he was describing a fight that I don't think we watched at home. It was almost as if he was talking about something completely different. And he was also trying to talk like Conor McGregor. This is something that I know he's had the comparisons for a while, but this post-fight press conference was very similar to something that you would hear from Conor McGregor. And frankly, I think Garry was wrong on a lot of things. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. My name is James Lynch. So Garry speaking to the media, I was there in Vegas, hearing everything that Garry had to say. And I'm just watching this and going, this is not the fight we all watched at home. At least I didn't think so. Curious to get your thoughts on what Garry has to say here in the comments, because like I said, I think Garry got the win, but I don't think it was as impressive as he's making it out to be. So we're going to watch just some of the highlights here from the 19-minute press conference, and I'm going to give my commentary on some of the things that he said that I do not agree with. So let's get it underway.
And I will say this now, the two single greatest people in the world that have calf kicks are me and Alexi Pereira.
Hold on a second here. He has the best calf kicks in the UFC, him and Alex Pereira. I don't know about that. Gary's a great fighter. You know, this is a good win for him. I don't agree that he has the best calf kicks in MMA. And again, this is something that Conor would say, right? He would say that I'm the best at doing this and that.
Ian over here, according to the UFC, now 8 fights, longest active win streak in the UFC welterweight division. How does that feel?
26 years of age, undefeated, breaking records. Whether people like it or not, I'm out here doing my thing, and it makes me happy to put a smile on my face.
It sounds exactly like Conor McGregor. Just saying. And I know the Irish accent doesn't help. I mean, he could be American and say this. Maybe I wouldn't make the same comparison. It sounds exactly like Conor McGregor. And again, he got the win here. You got to give him his credit, but it wasn't the type of win that makes you think this guy's doing something special. He got a decision victory over Michael Venom Page. Good win, but maybe not a great win in my opinion. By the way, coming up here, Shaq asked a really good question at the press conference saying that, look, you just won a fight by 29-28. Going into the fight, you said you were going to destroy him. Watch Gary's answer here.
How would you respond to some people who might criticize you saying 29-28 against MVP, considering how much you sort of boasted about the quality of your skill set relative to his? At the end of the day, it was 2-1.
I don't care what people say. I got my hand raised, 15-0, undefeated, as you said, the 8th.
He's not even acknowledging that it was a close fight. Like he could have come out here and said, hey, look, MVP was very tough, you know, whatever. But now he's saying he doesn't care. It's like, dude, you said pre-fight that you were going to destroy him. You're going to finish him. That doesn't end up happening. You got to acknowledge that a little bit. And that's the thing. I think if Conor McGregor was, you know, doing his thing, I mean, first off, Conor was finishing all of his fights.
8 wins in a row, the longest active win streak in welterweight division. People can say what they want. At the end of the day, I'm living my life, get my hand raised and doing what's doing best. And I got paid in full.
Also tied number 3rd with Leon for all-time welterweight win streak.
So there you go. All time. 3rd, 26 years of age. I am by far the youngest man in the division. And I am far the most talented. And I put fear into other people because of my striking. Now because of the ability that I have in jiu-jitsu. I am so well-rounded. And the more and more I fight, the more and more everyone else is. Because I'm just going to grow and evolve at such a rapid rate that no one is going to be able to catch me.
Now he gets a finish here, or he dominates Page and there's no question asked. He wins all 3 rounds. I would agree with him here. And this is again something that Conor McGregor used to do when he would be like, my opponents aren't the same when I fight them, all this type of stuff. That's not what happened here. He won a close fight. So it's like, again, Gary's trying to sell us something that I don't think we watched. We watched a very close fight. I'll give him credit for the win. He was supposed to win this, coming in, he was the favorite. He got it done, but he's talking and acting like he just destroyed Michael Venom Page. That's not what happened. Michael Venom Page clearly won the 2nd round. The 3rd round, there wasn't a whole lot of action. I'll give Gary credit. He nearly finished him in the 1st round, but you have to acknowledge all that. You can't just pretend that this was this wasn't a close fight. And I feel like Gary is not doing the right thing here by not acknowledging that. Again, he's trying to talk like McGregor without the wins and performances to back it up. That's kind of what I'm getting from watching this press conference. Now, here's my question asking Gary, because Gary references that there's a lot of big fights left for him, right? Colby's maybe a name. You got Shavkat. JDM's injured, so I didn't really count him. So I throw out Kamaru Usman and watch his response here.
Congrats. Ian over here. So you mentioned Shavkat as a potential opponent. I know you also on Media Day mentioned he might get the winner of Bilal and Leon. Is Kamaru Usman a possible opponent? Like you mentioned, there's huge fights, but there's a lot of fights that are booked. JDM's injured, right? So and any other names that come to mind?
Any of them. I'm not picky. You've got Usman. I don't think Usman wants to fight me. I don't think Usman wants to come out here and fight someone who's that fast. I think he'd much rather have an easier stylistic matchup. And like, for example, he's been talking about fighting Wonderboy.
Now, I will give him credit here about the Usman and Wonderboy thing. That's a fight that Usman has talked about having, wanting to fight Wonderboy. There was that clip on Fight Inc. where Usman's manager was saying that he should fight Wonderboy as well. So he's 100% right about that. What he's not right about is him saying that, or implying, I should say, that fighters are scared. This is a guy in Kamaru Usman who fought Khamzat Chimaev on short notice in the Middle East. To imply that Ian Garry is scarier than Khamzat Chimaev up a weight class, I'm sorry, that's complete nonsense. If he wants to say that I don't think Usman wants to keep fighting or there's no incentive, I understand that, but he's making it out like this is the type of win that fighters are afraid to fight Ian Garry now because of that performance. I'm just not seeing it. If he went out there and finished Page in the first round like he almost did, he submitted him, I would understand his case there. You won a decision over a fighter that you were supposed to beat, and you won it closely. It was a closely contested contest. I just don't see the logic here. I know what he's trying to do. Obviously, he's trying to be confident and promote himself. That's fine. But we didn't watch the same fight. The fight he's describing is a fight like he went out there and destroyed Page. That's not what happened in the fight. So that's where I think Gary's wrong here, implying that people are afraid. Now, as far as Colby goes, I don't know what's going on with Colby. You know, it certainly doesn't look very good that Colby couldn't take the fight at UFC 303. I don't know if he's injured or what the deal is. That is different than Kamaru Usman. To me, Usman is a guy that has never been afraid to step up to the plate and has fought some great competition. So that's where I disagree with Gary here. And I just, again, think it's a bad look, him implying that a former champion like Usman, who has fought guys as recently as Khamzat Chimaev, is somehow afraid of Ian Garry of all people.
But even in that frustration and irritation that I have inside myself because I want that finish, I've gone out there in my last three fights. I dominated Neil Magny, the most winningest welterweight of all time, and I made him look like he's never fought. I went out there against...
Fought Neil Magny on short notice. And Magny had one leg. You talked about not wanting to take a risk in that fight. Magny was on one leg. He absolutely, I think, could have finished Neil Magny. He didn't. So, again, yes, he did dominate him. He's probably going to talk about Jeff Neal coming up here, too. That was also a win that clearly went his way, but it was a fight that I don't think Jeff Neal was close to getting finished. Like, my thing is, if you're going to have this expectation and talk like you're Conor McGregor, you have to go out there and perform that way, and I just don't feel like Gary's done that. Even in this fight, good win, but not a great win in my opinion, because if he, again, he's talking like he just dominated Page in this entire fight. It was close. There were some people who even scored this fight for Michael Venom Page. In my opinion, I think it was 2-1 Ian Garry. Page clearly won the second round. I don't think there's any debate there. He hit Garry early in that fight. Gary was wobbled a little bit. I think that round went to Michael Venom Page, but yeah, that's my thing. Like, if you want to act like this, you got to back up the performances. I don't feel like Gary's done that.
Against the hardest puncher in the division, against Jeff Neal. And I hit him with everything. I cracked him with some knees to the face, some kicks to the body that I've seen grown men curl up. And he ate them and went, ugh. I was like, it's going to be a long night. And I went out there today in what I wrote it in my book. I'll post it later on Instagram. I called MVP a ball ache. He is someone who's just going to be irritating, you have to be uber patient with and uber focused with, because he wants to set traps for you. So what I did tonight was I set traps for him to fall into, and then I took advantage of them. For me, I am on my road to destiny to be one of the greatest of all time. I'm going to do that by any means necessary, and I don't care how it gets done. In 10 years' time.
That's the difference between him and Conor. He just says, I don't care how it gets done. So to some degree, he is acknowledging that, look, like he's not finishing his opponents, but then he's also saying, I don't care what the fans think. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, if you want to be McGregor, if you want to be this, young up and coming star, and you want to, be the superstar, you have to have more dominant performances and wins. And it's tough to do. I'm not saying it's easy. Here I am sitting behind a camera, but the way he talks, he's acting like he's McGregor, but he's not Conor McGregor, if that makes sense.
My name is going to be in that GO conversation. You're going to, who's the greatest of all time? You're going to say John Jones, GSP, Anderson Silva, Ian Machado, Gary. I'm going to have my name in that conversation because it's opinion based. If you're Brazilian, you'll say Anderson Silva. If you're American, you might say John Jones. We could all sit here and have all of our opinions.
And then this is the other thing. He's talking about being the greatest of all time. Nothing wrong with being confident, but he hasn't won a belt yet. He hasn't even fought for a title. Like, when you start talking like that and you haven't achieved anything, it's not a good look. Look, do I think Gary will fight for a title someday? Probably. But I'm just saying he's not doing anything extra that you see with a lot of those names you just mentioned. Anderson Silva, Connor, John Jones. These are fighters that finished their opponents, that got dominant performances, the type of performances where you want to see them fight for a title. I think with this performance from Gary, it's good, but it's not one where it's like, I need to see him fight for the title next. He himself hasn't even called for a title shot. If he was so dominant in this fight, would you not think that would be an option? I think deep down he knows that that's not the case, but he's saying another thing. That's where I differ here with Ian Garry. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Am I out to lunch here? I just feel like Gary is talking about a fight that we didn't watch. The way he describes that fight, he briefly mentions it. He said, look, I went the distance, but I don't care what people think. If you're going to play this persona of trying to be like Connor, you have to go out there and get more dominant wins and dominant performances. And there's nothing wrong with being confident, and there's nothing wrong with being a self-promoter. It's just Gary is describing something that we haven't seen. He got booed more than anyone at UFC 303, and obviously some of that is the stuff outside the cage. But I think another part of it is he's just not giving us what is advertised. He's basically selling us something that we're not seeing. Maybe that could change in the next couple fights. I think him fighting Shavkat is a great idea because it's really going to know how good he really is. I think Shavkat's very great. I've already said it on record. I think he'll probably hold the title one day. But right now, I'm not seeing it. People saying that Gary's going to be a champion, that he can beat Leon Edwards after that performance on Saturday, I'm not so sure. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports. I'm posting content on here every single day. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on this video. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.